Let's talk about Joy Reid. I'm so torn. Oh, Victor, I'm so torn. You know, I'm thrilled she's gone. She literally was the most racist person on television. Her and her most favorite guest, Ellie Mistel. So they deserve 100% both to be fired. But, you know, it's like we won't have her to kick around anymore. And there's a little sadness in that. This is one of the many reasons why most of us are absolutely delighted to see her get fired from this show. And it appears from MSNBC. Tonight, we believe, will be here last night. A little walk down memory lane in SOT 1.
But in America, there's a thing about both white vigilantism and white tears, particularly male white tears. Really white tears in general, because that's what Karens are, right? They Karen out, and then as soon as they get caught, it's like, Green Waterworks.
Ron DeSantis has been waging a full-scale war against the black past. It's illegal to make white people feel uncomfortable in Florida.
You also have the restrictions in schools over what can be taught about race and gender for fear white children might feel bad when they find out that not all white people in history were heroes.
Do any of you guys trust Uncle Clarence?
These Republicans are dangerous. They're dangerous to our national security because stoking that kind of soft white nationalism eventually leads to the hardcore. From the Tea Party on, they're voting on race. The idea that they can't get whatever job they want, a black person got it, therefore drive all the blacks out of the colleges. They're just voting specifically on racial animus. At this stage, it isn't about economics.
They want to turn every state into their white Christian nationalist hell. It's DEFCON 1, y'all. Take action and stay woke.
So we'll miss her a little, I guess. Victor, what do you make of the fact that even MSNBC finally had enough?
Yeah, I mean, if you had just substituted the word black for white and any other person had said what she did and just said black instead of white, they would have been fired in 24 hours. She knew that too. So I remember though, you remember Megyn when she first got on, she had this whole paper trail of being a homophobe. Do you remember that? And then she said, I'm going to get the FBI to investigate because I was hacked. And then she completely lied on the air. She was never hacked. And then she said she may not have been hacked, but she couldn't. Then she said she was almost as if she was in a suspended state of animation. I may have written this, but I don't remember ever saying this. And it was so
Doesn't
pathetic.
sound like
and she
me.
would have been... Yeah, she should have been fired for that. And then she had a big rant once, I remember, where she was mad that so-called white women had cornrows, and this was cultural appropriation, and she was going to wear authentic black hairstyles. And then all of a sudden, she started wearing blonde. She dyed her hair blonde and straightened.
She looked like Trump.
Wow. Yeah, and I thought, wow, you're culturally... why do you want to look like an Anglo-Saxon after you gave a lecture that nobody
Why
should
can't I wear the cornrows or have my daughter get cornrows in the Bahamas on a trip, but she can take my hair. She can try to imitate my hair, no problem whatsoever.
So all I'm saying is that she was a sad person. She had a horrible, I'm not trying to psychoanalyze her, but she was terribly insecure. And it came out, it just exuded from her, insecurity. And she was thrashing around. And it was really the problem of the management to put her out there. They should have yanked her from the very beginning. And that Ellie Mistel, he was an outright racist. I remember he said right after COVID, I got used to not seeing white people anymore, and it was a good feeling. And he just said things that were, I mean, they were horribly racist, and they kept spouting that filth, and it was horrible. And nobody ever said anything. And then finally, her ratings had stayed. I don't think they were ever great, but the only reason they took them off is that people got sick of her after the election. Or they would have kept her on. They were never bothered by what she said. They were just trying to adjudicate whether it was good enough to justify the advertisers. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. So they replaced her with three other hosts, two of whom are black, one of whom is Hispanic. And I guess they think that will save them. We'll see. They fired everybody. Her entire staff has been laid off, which apparently they found out about the cancellation from the trade mags or from the internet, same as the rest of us. Classic NBC move. They're such a classy group over there. But it is true that among the dumbest people over at MSNBC, she appears to have been the dumbest and the worst rated. We just pulled the ratings from Thursday night. On Thursday night, this is in the 25 to 54 demo. I mean, this is just unbelievable. Like, truly, when I was at Fox, a bad night in the demo would be in the threes, 300 and change. But it was often 600,000, 700,000 and change. In the demo, those are now the overall numbers, the total audience numbers on a great number for most of cable news. Here's her demo number from Thursday night, 59,000. She was 4,000 away from Slashies, which is 9,000, which is 50,000. She was 59,000. That's what she got in the overall demo. She lost to her competitor on CNN, who had 104,000, lost to Laura Ingraham, who had 389,000, lost the whole ratings race inside MSNBC, where their great white hope, Jen Psaki, who's taking over now at 9. This is all part of a reshuffling. She got 65,000 in the key demo. 65. That's okay. That's their future. Rachel Maddow, she's their big star for $30 million a year. All you have to pull is 144,000 in the demo, which I think is what we got. Maybe overnight at 3 a.m. during a weekend program lineup at Fox. 144,000 now earns you $30 million a year on MSNBC. And then the next lowest, after Reid and Psaki, was Stephanie Ruhle with 88,000. Lawrence O'Donnell got 103,000. These are all terrible, terrible, terrible numbers. And that's one of the many reasons Joy Reid is out, because she was not only a racist, it was very obvious and incredibly alienating, but she didn't rate, Victor. And I think she lasted longer than she otherwise would have, given the fact that she constantly played the race card.
Yeah, and one of the reasons they lost the election, there were many, but one of the reasons is that they were so anachronistic. They looked at these legacy media, NBC, ABC, CBS, PBS, NPR, LA Times, Chicago Tribune, Washington Post, New York, and they thought that because 60 Minutes, they thought that these were back in the 1960s or 70s with these huge ratings, and then they didn't realize that, Joe Rogan, your show, all these podcasters, all this, Fox is doing well. Newsmax had bigger than some of these people. There was and then there were online influence. There was a whole new media. And you think that these hip people from Silicon Valley who were left wing would have told them, or somebody, but they were very out of date, old fuddy-duddies. And they kept sending, they had an opportunity with Joe Biden at the Super Bowl. They had an opportunity with Kamala Harris to go on Joe Rogan. And they just were so either out of it, and they didn't understand that the whole media world had changed, or they were afraid because they were not these sympathetic, obsequious, left-wing legacy interviewers, or they had to pay them like Oprah or Cardi B or somebody. But whatever it was, they didn't understand the new media at all.
Yeah, and we'll see whether, she's probably going to come over into the digital lane. We'll see whether she has any followings. So far, like Tiffany Cross, who also had this type of a program on MSNBC, which is just all about her hatred for whites, she decided to go independent. She's been an abject failure. Don Lemon's podcast, abject failure. So we'll see how she does. Here is just a couple of bits of background on her anti-LGBTQ past. Between 2007, Variety provided this good recap. In 2009, she blogged about then Florida Governor Charlie Crist, referring to him as Miss Charlie, tagging the post's gay politicians, suggesting that gay men prey on young men in a way that many people consider to be immoral. She said she was repulsed by the film Brokeback Mountain and said, "Does that make me homophobic? Probably." In a 2018 statement, she claimed that the posts were fabricated by an unknown external party who'd gained access to her blog. She said she'd hired a cybersecurity expert. I remember this. This is so fun. She later conceded no evidence of hacking had been found. She issued a blanket apology noting, quote, "I genuinely do not believe I wrote those hateful things because they were completely alien to me. But I can definitely understand, based on things I have tweeted and have written in the past, why some people don't believe me. also that because we have brains and we know no one jumped on your blog to write a bunch of homophobic stuff and nothing else and then got off. Yeah. And then she claimed there was a fake FBI investigation.
If you have someone like that is so egregious and just flat out lies, and then you keep her there, then that tells her, I can do anything on the air. I can say anything outrageous because I have done the most outrageous thing in the world, and they kept me here, and they knew that. And after that, they had no control over her because she always felt she could play the race card because she had. And the same thing with her guest. And I think hold
that thought for 1 second, because we have a little bit more, because the other thing that kept her on the air was her serious case of TDS. I mean, she's a massive Trump hater. They all are on MS, but my God, this woman's unhinged. A few examples.
We've laid out the stakes in this crucial election, where one side stands for freedom while the other meets the textbook definition of fascism, namely a far-right dictatorial regime like Hitler's Germany.
We still don't know for sure whether Donald Trump was hit by a bullet.
For me, there is something wonderfully poetic. The first person to actually criminally prosecute Donald Trump is a black Harvard grad, and a black woman is doing that same exact thing in Georgia. Donald Trump is being held to account by the very multicultural, multiracial democracy that he's trying to dismantle. Go DEI. My DEIs are bringing it home. What he's telling his voters, his black Haitians are violent cannibals. Black people are the enemy. Black people are going to be responsible if and when I lose, and you are permitted through my language to do violence to them.
That was her interpretation of Springfield. It's crazy. We continue to face uncertainty when it comes to the economy, with a perfect storm brewing as Social Security and Medicare hit a breaking point as the largest generation is hitting retirement. A smaller workforce means a smaller tax base. You pair that with our growing national debt and rising cost of living, and we could have a big problem. So what are you doing now to protect your family for the future? Well, gold can be a safe haven in hard economic times, and Birch Gold makes it easy to diversify a portion of your savings into physical gold. Birch Gold will help you transition an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold, and it does not cost you 1 cent out of pocket. Protect your future today. Text MK to 989898 and get your free info kit on gold and a copy of the Ultimate Guide for Gold in the Trump Era with a foreword by Donald Trump Jr. There's no obligation, just information. Birch Gold has earned the trust of countless Americans looking to safeguard their savings. Just text my initials MK to the number 989898 today. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.